Russia has recently launched the most powerful icebreaker in the world. The name of this icebreaker is Chukotka icebreaker. And through this, Russia is showcasing its power, especially in terms of technology. Even if there are Western sanctions on Russia, Russia is showing that they can protect their national interest, they can protect their economic interest through this icebreaker. So we need to know what is this exactly. First of all, if you look at the international trade, the entire volume of this international trade, if you look at it, 80% of it is carried out through the way of sea. And when we look at all the seas, one of the sea is very important for Russia, and that is Arctic Sea. Now, when it comes to Arctic Sea, because it lies in the polar region, so when there is winter, at that time, the entire sea is covered with the ice sheets. And these ice sheets are very heavy and very thick, somewhat somewhere around 3 meter or 4 meter thick. So a normal ship cannot travel through this region if such ice sheets are available. So in that case, if you want that one ship to go from this Arctic Sea in the winter time period, then you actually need a icebreaker. Some kind of a ship, a specialized ship which can break the ice and make its own passage. And this is icebreaker specifically. So when you want to travel through the Arctics, you need icebreaker. Now we are talking specifically about Russia, that Russia needs icebreaker. Why? Because if you look at the map, here you can see the map of Russia. So it shares one of the most or one of the longest coastline with the Arctic Ocean. And that's why to travel through the Arctic Ocean, it needs icebreaker, especially if it wants a year-round access to this route. See, every country wants that it should have a route available through which it can go ahead with its economic transaction. That means they are going for a trade with some other country. Let's say Russia wants to send its oil or natural gas to some other country in Europe or Africa or any other country. In that case, they need some passage, they need some area through which the trade will go on. For example, if you look at India, if we want to send some package to, let's say, any African country, so we have this route available. If we want to send it to a European country, we have this route available through which we go. So for example, here we have Suez Canal through which we can go. Now, the issue with Russia is that it does not have good relations with the Western countries. Especially after the Western sanctions, Russia is facing much problems. And Russia wants to secure its channels, its routes wherein it can go ahead with its trade continuously. So for them, this route, specifically of this Northern Sea route, becomes very important. Northern Sea route. See, here on the western side, here you see Barents Sea. And here on the eastern side, here we have Bering Strait. So entire route between these two regions is called as Northern Sea route. And if this Northern Sea route, if Russia wants that throughout this region, Russia should have complete access or complete sea route available to go ahead with. They need icebreaker because this is the region of Arctic Sea and this is the region where they actually need icebreaker. Now this region is somewhere around of 5,000 kilometers and most of the region lies in the exclusive economic zone of Russia. So from economic perspective, this entire region of Northern Sea route is very important for Russia. Now apart from that, we are talking about the Arctic region. And this Arctic region is very famous for being very much resourceful. There are so many resources. For example, there is natural gas, there is crude oil, there are many other minerals available in the Arctic region. And it is some kind of a region where the minerals are there but they are not yet explored to the extent it is possible. And every country wants that they should go ahead with some exploration in this region. Even India is interested. But Russia already has its coastline over here and a long coastline. So they can show their presence in this region. They are trying to economically exploit this region. And for this, they need to have access to this region, which is possible only through icebreaker. Without that, it is very difficult to have access throughout the year. Okay? And apart from that, there are Western sanctions on Russia. So many countries, specifically Western countries, are trying that Russia should economically get down. It should not become an emerging country, a very large country as such in economic terms. But Russia, through these icebreakers, is showing that we are going ahead with our economic activities because we have a good technology through which we have made this thing. And apart from this, there is a strategic relevance of it. In this region, the military presence becomes very important. If you want to even go ahead with the economic exploration, you should have the military presence. And through that military presence, Russia can actually protect its national interest. Now moving ahead, if you look at this particular icebreaker called Chukotka, why is it so famous? Why is it very, very powerful? First of all, it is a nuclear powered icebreaker. See, earlier when icebreakers were made, initially they were made of steam engine. Later on, they were made of diesel powered. But the technology got advanced and now we are using nuclear powered Chukotka icebreaker. Now this is special because nuclear power will provide a substantial power to provide the electricity or the supply of energy which is continuously available for this ship to travel. So for example, the nuclear reactor that is there available in it, it can continue for 40 years. Its lifespan is 40 years. And the refueling has to be done every 7 years. See, if you have a diesel powered icebreaker, if the diesel is completely exhausted, you will have to come back and refuel it. But when it comes to nuclear power, you need to refuel after 7 years. For 7 years, you will continuously have the energy supply. So that means these ships are very, very powerful. They can remain in their route for a very long duration. That makes it very, very important. And this particular ship is so powerful that it can cut up to 3-meter thick ice sheet. So that's why I'm saying it is the most powerful icebreaker in the world, and Russia is showcasing its pride, its power through this icebreaker. Thank you.